He had everything: the corner office, the luxury watch, the skyline view. Then one email took it all away. He lost his job, his apartment, his pride. He slept under a bridge with nothing but a broken dream. But rock bottom became his foundation. With dirty hands and a hungry mind, he built an empire from scratch, greater than before. Yet his greatest victory wasn't the fame or the fortune. It was the moment he walked back to that same cold bench and realized the struggle didn't break him, it built him. He woke up every morning like he owned the world, and for a while, he did. The alarm rang at 7, and he rose in a sunlight that poured through clean white curtains. He stood before the mirror, adjusted his silk tie, and sprayed cologne like a man who had already won. The glass doors of the corporate tower opened for him like they were built just for his entrance. He sat in a corner office on the highest floor, sipping hot coffee while the city moved beneath his feet. The promotion letter came, and he celebrated with a gold watch that gleamed on his wrist like a crown. He drove down the coastal highway with the wind in his hair, worked out in a premium gym, and dined alone on rooftop restaurants where the city lights sparkled like diamonds. Every night, he leaned on his balcony railing and smiled at the skyline below. He believed this life would never end. He was wrong. It started with one email. One cold, heartless line on a bright screen terminated. His fingers froze on the keyboard. His face turned pale. He packed his entire career into a cardboard box and walked down a silent hallway where no one looked him in the eye. In the parking garage, he pressed his forehead against the steering wheel and shook like a man who had forgotten how to breathe. The bills came next, red letters stacked on his kitchen table like a death sentence. He pawned the gold watch, slid it across the glass counter, and looked away because pride is the last thing a broken man sells. The fridge went empty. The lights flickered. Then the eviction notice arrived, taped to his door like a final goodbye from the life he once knew. He walked into the rain that night, with one backpack and no direction. The city that once glowed for him now drowned him in cold, dark water. He sat on a park bench at midnight, rain hammering his skull, hands trembling, soul hollow. And when even the bench felt too generous, he crawled under a highway bridge, curled beneath torn cardboard, and stared into the darkness with wide, open eyes. This was rock bottom. This was where most men quit. But he was not most men. When the first ray of sunrise hit his face under that cold bridge, something inside him snapped. Not broken, but awake. His jaw tightened. His fists clenched. And he rose like a man reborn from ashes he never asked for. On the sidewalk, he found a torn book in a trash pile. The cover read 2 words, "Start again." He carried those words into the public library, where he buried himself in books, writing notes until his fingers ached and the librarian turned off the lights. At 3 in the morning, in a 24-hour diner, he sketched a business plan on napkins surrounded by empty coffee cups and a fire that would not die. He took a construction job to survive, carried bricks under the burning sun, back screaming, sweat pouring, but never once did he stop. At night, he coded on a cracked laptop inside a laundromat while his only pair of clean clothes spun behind him. In a tiny rented garage, with grease-covered hands and a face smeared with dirt, he built his first product from nothing. Then his phone buzzed, one notification. New order, $49.99. He stared at the screen. A small, disbelieving smile cracked across his face. That was the spark. Orders kept coming. Boxes kept stacking. And one morning, he hung an open sign on a small shop door, stepped back, took a deep breath, and nodded to himself. The climb had begun. He walked through a modern office filled with screens and energy, his name printed bold across the wall like a battle flag. The sales chart on his laptop didn't climb. It exploded, shooting upward like a rocket that had no ceiling. One afternoon, walking down a busy city street, he looked up and saw his own face staring back at him from a massive billboard. He stopped breathing for 3 seconds. At the newsstand, his face covered a magazine. The Boy Who Slept Under a Bridge now printed on glossy paper for the world to see. They rolled out a red carpet for him at the grandest gala in the city. Camera flashes exploded like lightning as he walked through in a custom black suit sharper than a blade. On stage, under a single white spotlight. He raised a crystal trophy above his head while his eyes glistened with tears he would never let fall. He bought a penthouse that touched the clouds. He bought a new watch, better than the one he pawned, and strapped it on with a knowing smile. Every sunrise, he shadowboxed on his private rooftop while the city woke beneath him, powerful and alive. But late one night, sitting in his home office, he stared at a framed photo on his desk, a picture of himself sleeping under that bridge. He touched the glass gently. He never forgot where he came from. He sat at a 12-seat dining table with one plate, one fork, and the sound of his own breathing. At 3 a.m, he stared at his ceiling while his phone showed 0 notifications. The man the world celebrated had no one to call. In a bathroom mirror, dark circles framed his tired eyes like bruises money could not heal. Walking home one evening, he passed a stranger sleeping under cardboard on the sidewalk. His feet carried him to the same park bench where he once sat broken in the rain. He sat down, expensive suit on the same old wood, and closed his eyes. Slowly, he removed his platinum watch, held it in his palm, and tucked it into his pocket. He didn't need it anymore. He walked to the highway bridge where he once slept on concrete and touched the cold wall as a single tear rolled down his cheek. The next morning, he unlocked the doors of a brand new community center with his name on the wall. Free learning for anyone who had nothing. Inside, he picked up a marker and wrote 3 words on the whiteboard. Start again. The same words that once saved his life. And in the final frame, he walked alone down an open countryside road toward the sunrise. No suit, no watch, no trophy. Just a simple white t-shirt, the wind in his face, and the most peaceful smile he had ever worn. Because he finally understood, success was never about reaching the top. It was about becoming the kind of man who could walk away from it all and still feel complete.